are seeing a decent-sized force pushing out from Anytime, and this time GGPlay does not have the forces on the ground to hold it back. He does have those lurkers, and Anytime is stopping short and using the force just to pick up his third base, and I assume he'll put some cannons down there too in relatively short order. GGPlay hasn't made a lot of capital out of these lurkers, and since we haven't seen robotics facility down for Anytime, I don't think, I'm not sure why he hasn't, even if he isn't going to deliver a body blow. He could probably do some reasonable amount of damage with them, or at least use them to assert map control and prevent Anytime from moving out at will like he has. But he doesn't seem to have produced very many lurkers either. He's put one or two at each point of vulnerability as a defensive measure, but he hasn't used them at all aggressively so far. He is sending some lings a roundabout path. They're going to enter Anytime's natural from the back, and there is a robotics facility, so observers should be out relatively soon if they aren't already. Those lings are just going to get the scout, but they won't be able to do much damage. Now this force is pressing into GGPlay's natural, but those Hydras are going to chase it back without taking more than superficial damage to the shields. Oh, and that was a smart move by GGPlay, intercepting a few units. He's going to try to take out that Templar. I'm not sure if he'll be successful. Looks like he does take out the Templar. So that was a good use of those Zerglings. Some drones sitting idle for GGPlay. He should get those into action for a Zerg player. Every drone counts. And, oh boy, almost picking off another Templar. Anytime just managed to save it. Lurker caught out in the field. I'm not sure if that was going to be heading in for some harassment on the probe line and natural, but that Zealot sees it. So Anytime we'll know that's out there. Force is still posturing outside GGPlay's natural. Storm. Oh, and there is the Maelstrom, and that is effective in these sort of skirmishing situations. I never thought of that use before, but it does allow the Protoss player to pick off 3 or 4 Zerg units at a time by Maelstroming them and then forcing the rest of the Zerg army to fall back. So, clever tactic there on Anytime's part. 4th base going down for GGPlay, which is necessary at this point. Zerg doesn't want to play 3 base against 3 base in a ZDP. And he should be able to cap it relatively safely. Anytime is just getting his macro going. 2 more gateways going down for a total of something like 7 or 8, I think. Trying to pick up a 4th base, that Ling is going to slow it down temporarily, but looks like he should be able to, and that's a relatively defensible position with that ramp. So, Anytime is doing a very good job of macro, and he'll have a very strong economy going into the mid-game. A lot of Hydras out. They may attempt an attack on that 3rd base, which is relatively vulnerable just given that it's on such open ground. Another base going down for GGPlay, that Zealot is scouting it out. Another group of Zealots moving somewhere, and the Hydra is moving straight up the middle of the map. It looks like they're going to go for an attack on that 3rd base, but it's scouted out by that observer, importantly, so Anytime is going to be able to concentrate his forces and attempt to repel it. Anytime's army is now almost fully concentrated, and it should be enough to at least ward off those Hydralisks, and I don't think GGPlay will try to press in, at least at the moment. Snipes off something, maybe that was a Templar, or an observer or something. And that Zealot is being taken down, does a little bit of damage to the hatchery. Some more Zealots still wandering around. It looks like they're going to try to pick off that hatchery. Run into a force of Hydras, and the Zealots are probably going to get picked off without doing too much damage. Force is still posturing in the middle of the map. Decent storm, brushing the Hydralisks back. Another storm, very good, catching 2 of them that were already damaged. Lurkers trying to move in a little bit. But I don't think GGPlay is going to get very far with this attack, at least at the moment. Those Dragoons can pick off the Lurkers. Falls back without taking that one out. But, oh, great storm! Oh, wow, that was a deadly storm. Killed probably 2/3 of that little force of Hydras that was pressing out. So, GGPlay is not doing a whole lot of damage, and Anytime is getting his economy up, but by the same token, GGPlay is getting a lot of bases up too, so this should turn into a relatively big macro game, and Now Anytime's pushing out. He's leaving that back door open. Some Hydras are coming in. They may attack the third base, or they may try to flank. And I'm not sure which direction they're going, but Anytime is pulling his army back. And Anytime's army is going to be caught, but not by enough forces to prevent him from getting back. A little bit of a micro miscue, allowing those 4 units to go in on their own. And those Templar are a little bit far out ahead. A couple of them get picked off, but the Lurkers are being picked off too. And that's a reasonably fair exchange. And I think Anytime will accept a few losses if he's able to get this 4th base up and running. There's a relatively easily claimable 5th, as you can see, up and to the right of his 3rd, so he should be able to keep up with GGPlay in terms of macro. But GGPlay is pumping out a lot of Hydralisks, so we'll see which of these armies. Oh, and great Maelstrom taking a lot of those Hydralisks down, and perfect Storm to follow it up, and about 6 or 7, probably more Hydralisks are killed by that Storm. So Anytime is microing brilliantly, and doesn't really look that out of practice on the whole. I'd say he's played an excellent game so far. So that force in the middle has been cleaned up. GGPlay will be able to replenish it fairly quickly. A small group of Anytime's troops being caught out in the middle and taken down by those Zerglings, and now some Lings and Hydras moving in. Crazy Zealot bugged somehow, moving back and forth. But another great Storm. Oh, picking off the Dark Archon. That's a almost worthwhile exchange. Probably more Hydras than GGPlay wanted to lose there, but a lot of Lurkers morphing in the background. So he may try to press in. He's got a Defiler Mound out, so I was just going to say Dark Swarm may be the answer to these Dragoons, but it won't do anything to the Zealots or the Psystorm. So Anytime should be able to at least keep those Lurkers in abeyance for a little while. Now he's pressing into the natural, sort of non-committal on these attacks, but he's going to be able to pick off that hatchery, I think. So that's good, and Storm catching a lot of Lings, catching 2 of Anytime's Dragoons too, so that's not amazing, but a pretty big force of Lurkers, and that's, I'm not sure if that's, okay, some Lurkers moving around for a flank, and they're going to try to, I'm not sure what they're going to do. I think there are enough cannons protecting Anytime's bases that they won't be able to get in much harassment, but they could try to intercept some of Anytime's forces, get behind them. I don't think that's enough Lurkers to really trap his army, but we'll see. A good number of Zealots streaming out for Anytime to reinforce this army, and oh, there are a bunch of Lurkers getting picked off. Very smart tactics, I would say, in general from Anytime this game. Moving forward very aggressively to pick off those Lurkers, then falling back, and he's going to be able to clean up those Lings as well. With some storming his own Dragoon again. But the Lurkers move back up, and the Lurkers are just going to be murdered by those Dragoons. So there's an element to StarCraft that isn't always appreciated, that's somewhere between, has to do with micro, but has more to do with just sort of tactical sense of the battlefield and knowing when to move forward and when to move back. And that's something that Anytime certainly has had in spades this game. So he's been